So basically, giving this opportunity to interact with each other, fly around, play around, it actually sets the bird into a good mind frame, right? It's happy, it's flying around. So from the busy routine of breeding, staying in smaller cages, in a say two birds stuck with each other for almost 8 to 9 months of the year. So it's a good welcome change for all the birds, and definitely it improves the health. It starts to set in motion the entire change of molting, the entire change of diet. Right, what do you call a good refreshing mindset will go through your what do you put it into words? It brings the gray into brings the African gray into a very good mind frame to get into the next breeding season. So remember, a happy and healthy bird will keep you smiling the whole day. A single sick bird in your aviary will ruin your day. If I see one single sick bird in my aviary, it is going to reflect the sickness is going to reflect me in some way or the other, because even if I'm at work, even if I'm with a client, even if I'm shopping something, it is going to be on the back of my mind. I'll keep on calling the farm staff, what's happening, how's it, what medication they give. Start recommending medicines. I'll start calling up veterinary doctors. I'll start calling up some friend or fellow breeder, right, to figure out a way to get the bird back to normal. So we want to prevent that. We don't want the bird to actually fall sick or something. So uh, that's actually a 6 year old, six years it's been with me, so it should be around 8 to 9 years old. African gray wild female. It's not a tamed bird, it's a African gray wild caught female. Over the years, daily interaction, daily trying to talk to the bird, it gets even a wild African gray to be somewhat semi tame. This bird will, at the sight of me, it knows it is going to get an almond. It will be happy at seeing me near the cage itself. It will immediately fly to me. So that's the interaction level you need to keep your birds happy. That's how you go about keeping birds happy. What else can be done? Importance of perches, barks, and clay. So what all these elements play? What role do these elements play in your bird's life? Right? We give. There are a lot of aviaries I've seen where they do. I've seen perches not changed for years. They give palm fruits, they give oils to their birds, the diet is covered, everything. I can see all those things reflecting on the perches. The perches will be very shiny with the birds eating palm fruits, right? Their claws and all gets oily. So repeatedly, when they walk on the perches with their oily feet, the perches are nice and shiny and smooth, which indicates that it's been a long time since people have changed the perches. And it's a very I would say it's a very lazy practice. A perch plays a very important role in your bird's life. I'll give you a simple example. A few years back, say 2015 or 16, I had got some grass parakeets from Calcutta, from a good breeder in Calcutta, and I wanted to try a hand at breeding grass parakeets. So I got some turquoisines, some splendid parakeets. I had put them in a small cage inside my house. I was told these are delicate. They have this requirement, that requirement. They can't be kept in draft wind. You can't expose them to your severe climatic conditions immediately. So I had kept them in a, say, a 8 feet cage indoors. So after 4 5 days, I slowly found they are a little bit lethargic. Birds are not active. They are not eating properly. After a couple of days, I found two birds which died. After almost 3 more days, I found two more birds die. So I was clueless. I started calling up people, talking to vets, started medication. We tried to figure out what it was. We gave almost every antibiotic possible, but ultimately I landed up losing almost 7 to 8 birds. So I was left with almost five to six birds more. So I gave up hope. I left them in my outside flight cage, right? First day I saw, they didn't have the energy to fly at all. They were just crawling around on the cage floor, on the aviary floor. Third, fourth day, I saw some birds going and nibbling on a, a tree trunk bark over there. They used to try and go and eat the mud, right? The sandy area of the aviary where they could find some grit, some s- some what do you call, dead barks, a dead tree trunk. It had good access to sunlight. Sixth, seventh day, I could find some birds flying around. I could see two, three birds which had perched on a good height of the aviary. So slowly they started recovering. So I was in like, I have tried so much. I have supplemented them. I've medicated them. I tried everything, but something's going wrong. And suddenly, all of a sudden, without doing anything, they are almost getting back to normal. Out was, a bird is a doctor in itself. It has to be given its resources, right? For example, when we have a stomach upset, right? What your mom will tell you is eat curd. It has good lactobacillus in it. It'll realign your gut flora. It'll, you go to drinking buttermilk, you go to eating curd rice, or something light which will be good for your stomach. The scientific reason behind is it has lactobacillus content, which is a good bacteria for your gut. Same a dog will do. What a dog will do is it will go and eat grass when it has an upset stomach, right? It'll try to clean its stomach, it'll vomit it out, it'll clean itself. Same way a bird will use these dead barks as antioxidants. Birds, like we need lactobacillus, birds gut flora needs Bacillus subtilis. The best source of Bacillus subtilis is dead tree bark, dead tree trunks, or normal tree barks and sand, or the earth, what you call the earth. These two are the best sources of Bacillus subtilis for your birds. So they will definitely go around searching for this when they are sick. So if these things are simulated in your aviary or your cage, you can definitely, your bird can cure itself in case of any toxic substance which has gone in, it has eaten some spoiled food or leftover food from the previous day. So it can cure itself. It has these resources available. I usually use bottle brush as my preferred purchase because it has a good rough texture to its branches, right? The grays will love chewing it. They just can peel it off, chew it off. They spend the whole day working around it. You can, I give them clay blocks. uh, I've given you a very good picture of a clay, but even I don't make it into such. I just give the chunks of collected from the river beds. So we are a group of crazy friends who go specifically in search of good river beds to get this clay. And be careful, you do not want to collect clay from contaminated rivers or rivers with say chemicals entering from some factories. So you have to be careful from where you pick up these sources. There's also commercial clay available. I think Cal Clay from I'm not sure Varsalalaga or which company, but commercially also clay is available, which you can use it for your birds. You can give a mixed grit, shell grit, or yeah, shell grit with coal. There are a lot of grit varieties of grit available for your birds. You can also give a bowl full of grit, which is very good for digestion. Also, it helps. What do the gizzard. It helps to churn the food in the gizzard and break it down for your birds. So these are like a few importance of natural products which you can replicate in your bird's environment. So other good sources of enrichment, uh, you give we already give almonds and all these, but still parrots need some activity. They love breaking open nuts. They love chewing off the husks. They love sitting and removing the entire shell, right? They love working around it, even if they are not able to break it. For example, say palm fruits have a hard nut in between, right? The gray will keep on turning the throughout its beak, right? It'll keep on churning it, trying to break it open, trying. So I've seen almost a gray try to do that for almost say 20-25 minutes. So it's like a good mental stimulation for the bird. It's keeping it itself occupied. It is giving some work to its beak. So hulled almonds, walnuts, hulled pistachios, uh, groundnuts. Okay, groundnuts. Okay, there are many people might complain they have aflatoxins, but anything in limited quantity and bought from a good source is safe for your birds. I give groundnuts on a regular basis, but in very limited quantity. Say in 10 kg of seed mix, we'll have around say around 100 grams or 50 grams of hulled groundnuts. So these are all the good sources of enrichment for your bird to keep it mentally happy, fresh, give it some work to do daily. So suitable environment and cage setup. There are two types of cages in which currently we are breeding African greys. We have suspended gray cages and we have conventional cages as well. So suspended cages, I find them personally more convenient to clean after, more convenient to monitor, and they can be, what do you say, I can easily inspect the bird whenever I want. In conventional cages it has its disadvantages. I have to open a big door, enter, there's a risk of bird escaping. Cleaning is a big hassle because a person has to literally enter the cage to clean it. So suspended cages are more convenient, considering say if you have a quantity of African grey pairs or quantity of any other birds. So this was a photo taken during our setup. Currently, I have all the cages which are, if you see, there are around 8 to 9 cages in a row. So now we have visual barriers in between all of these cages. Initially, for the first couple of years, we didn't have visual barriers, but now all the cages have visual barriers in between them. I found that males will try to, they'll waste a lot of time sparring with each other, trying to peek at each other's other cages, or they'll just simply spend other time looking into the other bird's cage, or I don't know how they communicate between them, but they'll spend a lot of time. And greys are a little bit territorial. They want their nest box in a private area. They don't want other birds to be seeing them during what do you say, while nesting. They don't like other birds in close proximity, so putting a visual barriers give them the privacy they require. Secondly, we give them what do you call, we give them a L-shaped sorry, okay, if you see in these conventional cages there are feeders, the rotating feeders put up, which makes it convenient for you to feed the birds. Say if you are giving feeding for feeding twice, changing water twice, so every time it's not possible to open the cage door, go inside, do the thing and come out in every cage. So installing such feeders, like such rotational feeders, is very convenient. You don't need to open the cage. From the outside itself you can feed your birds, you can change water, you can change your seeds. So it becomes very convenient. If you can see in the African gray suspended cages setup, it has a mesh covering on all the four sides. There is good access to sunlight, there's good airflow, right? There's good brightness inside the covered area as well, and there's good plantation around the cages. I've noticed there was a person who had asked a question also, right? Greys have powder dust, dander. Is it harmful to people? How do I get rid of the smell? So basically, if you have greys in, say, uh, well ventilated areas, good as air circulation, it won't be a much of a problem. But if you have a gray in a closed area, so people who are asthmatic, people who have bronchitis, they are sensitive to feather dust and the powder down of African grey parrots. So in closed areas, the best solution would be to use a uh, air purifier with a HEPA filtration. Right? If you can find it on Amazon, there are a lot of HEPA is like high efficiency uh, something so it gets rid of micro particles as well very quickly. So it's almost a very good filtration system which gets rid of all these particles from your room atmosphere. So you will find it on Amazon. I'm not able to recollect the company name, but from say 9,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees, there are a lot of filtration systems available. If you can see the nest box, there are L-shaped nest box installed on all these cages, African gray cages. We use this L-shaped nest box currently for all our African gray breeding pairs. But in future, I would like to go for these inverted L-shaped nest boxes. Right? If you can see over here, there is an opening, right? So whenever you want to inspect, usually in this L-shaped nest box, what happens is the grays will just go back a little bit. Sometimes they'll take the eggs to the rear end, they'll push the chicks to the rear end. So sometimes when you want to check eggs or you want to inspect the chicks, it becomes a very big issue. Whereas in this inverted L-shaped nest box, whenever you open this door, I've seen the grays climb to the top area. So I get easy access to the chicks because this place doesn't have too much depth. So in future, I would definitely want to go for this inverted L-shaped nest box. Currently, I'm breeding kikes, Amazons successfully in this inverted L-shaped nest boxes. In future, I would definitely like to give my grays an opportunity to breed in these boxes. It will make life much easier for me, practically, not for the grays. And I think all parrot species also like narrow nest boxes, right? They feel secure in narrow nest boxes. So an inverted L-shaped nest box would be a much better idea, I guess. So basically, the dimensions of the nest box are given. They are 2 feet in height, 2 feet in width. Internal dimension is like 11 to 12 inches, and a 5-inch diameter hole, entrance hole. And you have a inspection door on the side where you can easily look inside. So preparing the nest box. So okay, now we got about seeing what to feed, how to quarantine, how to settle down your grays, cage setup. I would recommend. So currently, the sorry, I missed one point behind. Currently, the dimension of this cage is 5 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. I have had grays breeding in even 2 feet cages in the past, right? 2.5 feet, I guess. In 2011, when I first bred my grays, when I was not even expecting them to breed, I just had a pair of grays with me. They bred in 2.5 feet cages that time. I I didn't have an in-depth knowledge of African gray breeding. At that time, there were not much people in Ahmedabad keeping African greys. I was like, there are two or three friends, but who also had similar sized cages. So that's how we went about it. But now I have given them 5 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet cages. In future, I would love to give them a 8 feet cage. So the bigger the better. Don't confine your greys to very smaller cages. It's not a healthy practice, and it will over the time affect the overall health of your grays. The smaller cages, you have to give them a good parallel flight, a good exercise daily. So the bigger the cages, the better it is for your African grays. It will give them a better lifestyle, it will give them a better health.